Hi everyone, good evening. My name is SaberaMesia, and tonight I am going to be running Axiom Verge 100% items for you. Axiom Verge actually has two different 100% categories. 100%, which includes all map tiles and all bosses, as well as all items, and 100% items, which is only getting 100% on the item counter. We don't have to fight bosses if we don't want to. It's kind of like the any percent of 100%, if that makes any sense. I think the run makes a lot more sense when you get into seeing it. 100% items has a lot of really interesting tech in it and some interesting routing that differs from the 100% run. So it's definitely a fun one. We're going to go ahead and get into it in 3, 2, 1, go. So if you have not played Axiom Verge, it is a Metroid homage from 2015 by Tom Happ. It actually has lots of love letters to a variety of genres. The core gameplay, despite the exploration and very like Metroid focus and the sort of horror theming of it, is run and gun. So we've got a lot of Contra influence here. We've also got some pretty significant Bionic Commando influence in the grapple that we acquire later in the game, which allows us, among other things, to do lots of shenanigans, because Tom actually went out of his way to make it emulate the grapple from the NES Bionic Commando, which I think is really cool. But to start the game off, we go left to go right. Very, very classic Metroid trope. We have this area that looks very much like Brinstar, where we do what's called the Brinstar Climb. And we are going to get the second weapon out of 20 weapons that we get in this game at the end of this corridor, which is the Nova corridor. A little bit of kind of precise platforming and weaving to get through here with as little stopping as possible. There's also, I just missed it, a little pixel jump there called Swag Jump that actually doesn't save any time over not going for it. There is an alternate that is easier to get, but it does look cool, and so I go for it every time. So we've picked up Nova now. Nova is one of only 4 weapons in the run that we actually use. Like I said, there are 20 of them. And Nova actually gets the least usage out of any of the weapons that we actually use in the run for any significant amount of time. Nova is theoretically the highest DPS weapon in the game, and so we do use it to kill a couple of things, but it is hard to use it effectively that way. It requires a certain amount of frame-perfect timing in order to actually get maximum DPS out of it, so we don't really use it for that much, but most of what we use it for is as key. There are switches that you can hit with Nova that you otherwise are unable to hit. So at this point in the run, everything is going to look very much like the any percent run. We get our first 2 weapons. We go and fight our first boss, Zetter. Zetter is going to bounce against this wall 3 times while shooting bullets at me, and then I'm going to move over here. We're doing this to manipulate Zetter's movement and position to get the most possible bullets into him in the shortest amount of time. And that is the end of our friend Zetter. 239 is not terrible. It is certainly not my best work, but what is? As you can see, this game does have built-in boss splits. It does not have built-in splits for other things. So we're a little bit able to keep track of our pace overall, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens in this run that we're just not going to necessarily know our pace for. We're going to go ahead and pick up a power node. There are a bunch of these across the run. Every time we pick one up, they're going to increase not just the damage that we deal to enemies, but also how fast we drill through blocks, and when we eventually get our glitch gun, they're going to affect how fast we glitch things. Another interesting note about the drill is that it does actually deal actual damage to enemies in addition to getting us through terrain, so we are going to be using it quite a bit for that over the course of the run. One other thing that I do want to note is actually about the falling in this game, which is we do not reach terminal velocity instantly upon falling. There is actually gravity in this game, so if you walk off a platform, it does take a little while to actually reach your maximum speed. That item that I just picked up is a health node. It will give us an extra 100 health, so now we have 300 instead of 200. But so you'll see us jump and fall to cut corners to fall a little bit faster through things when it's possible to do so, and gain a little time on it. So as we get out of that first area of Ereboo, we are moving on to the slightly aquatic themed Absu. There's a lot of broccoli here that's going to shoot spores at us, and if we happen to jump at just the right time, we can take a little forward boost off of the spores. Prompting that zombie to jump over us is a good way to just walk right over or right under it without worrying about it. And we're going to come down here. We're going to meet Elsa Nova. She's a big robot and the first sort of friend that we make in this world. Elsa Nova is asleep right now. We are going to attempt to, we're going to give her a little kiss. We were attempting to do a chin jump, which is, it's possible to get across that platform with a single jump instead of landing. Unfortunately, we missed it. That was not super ideal, but still totally fine. A lot of these zombies, we're gonna try. We tried really hard to not take damage from those zombies and let them jump over us when possible. They do drop health. So if one of them hits us, we do have a backup, but we really want to do pretty precise health management in this run, especially up through this point, because we want to take 2 health pickups here as we come up this shaft without really stopping, to make sure that we have enough health to do a damage boost through the second boss. So this is Talal. Talal lives in a long chamber and does not have anybody to advocate for accessibility. And as you see, we had just enough health to boost our way through Talal, even though we didn't hit those first bullets that we were jumping for. And I was actually trying to take a forward boost off of those bullets. I did not get it. It's fine. We're in a fine position here. We're going to get a good, solid, quick kill off of that. And that's going to leave us with about a 609 Talal kill. 609.21, not bad. So I'm not really worried about my beep health right now, and I hope that you won't be either. We're going to jump to cut corner there. We're going to grab our glitch gun. One of the major aesthetics of this game is the ability to glitch things in the world. And we are going to make use of that to produce some platforms here. We're also going to glitch these bubbles into little floating platforms. Now, I caught the first bubble that it's possible to catch RTA. I don't know if it's possible for TAS to catch an earlier bubble. I don't think so. But either way, catching that bubble saves 5 seconds over the alternative. But this is why I was not that worried about my beep health, is because there was a health node there to go ahead and restore my health from right away. So now we're back to full. And at this point, we're basically on our way out of Absu. So this first portion of the game, we really are just going to kind of make our way through the early segments of the game. What we're trying to do is make our way to movement upgrades that are going to let us clean things up a whole lot faster. So I'm actually passing up items that I could theoretically get at this point, because it will be much faster to get them later when I have the ability to do quick cleanup versus the tools that I have now, which are not super fast for the jobs that I have them for. And so we are going to sneak under this little spider guy, grab yet another power node, which is going to give us some power. That guy would drop a whole bunch of health if we killed him, but we're not going to because we don't really need the health at this particular point. If I had taken more damage on the way out here, then I would have wanted to do that. Ooh, nice forward boost off the ant. Did not manage to stun the second one out of its beams. That's a little unfortunate. Okay, and then good quick kill on that ant. So the ants here do a lot of damage with their bullets, and I was hoping to have enough health to do kind of a swag strat in this room. This is called Ant Hill, but I'm actually just going to take it safe through here rather than trying to do Ant Hill and potentially dying up in the next YOLO room. I could have alternately taken a safety save at that save point that I just passed, but muscle memory ran me right past it. But with this much health, we're actually totally fine for YOLO Room. We are going to use body hits from those spiders to prevent from taking a whole lot of damage there. A 901 exit for YOLO Room is actually really nice. This is a pretty good pace that we're at so far. We're gonna skip again over the save room because we don't really need it. We're not in like any particular danger before the next save room that we actually do want to take. We're gonna come up here. There's actually a nice little pixel jump right there that you can use to just jump up next to that coral. Really glad that I got that. That felt very nice. And now we're gonna make our way out. Now you might have noticed that Z was the first place where we didn't acquire a new power as we were making our way through. Now we're in Kerr, which is the next area. That is because the big movement power in Z that we want is behind a boss that we need a high jump to get to. And so we are going to climb our way up Mission Impossible, so named because of all the lasers, and there are just so many laser warts here. And once we climb up to the top of this, we are going to find ourselves up in the Juicy Room, which is just past this little room of wasps that doesn't really have a name. At the end of the Juicy Room, I am going to enter an area where I am going to pick up a Wi-Fi adapter. It's certainly what the symbol for the item looks like, but it is actually our Jordan's, the field disruptor. This is our high jump. So we're going to go ahead and grab this, and that is going to let us go back into Z, which is where we're going to be able to pick up the next major upgrade that we need, which is a lab coat that will let us walk through walls in addition to giving us some damage reduction. And so it's not really possible, we've tried various things to get through here without actually having a high jump. That doesn't really work. So we did have to kind of run into Kerr and get that. The anchor save that I took at the bottom of Kerr, I'm going to actually continue to use for quite some time. I'm going to be save warping to that a lot. And that was a little unfortunate. I didn't really want to run into the coral, but I didn't quite. There is another pixel jump there called Zombie Jump. It saves about 3 seconds and looks really cool. But we are just about up onto our next boss, Uruku. I had hoped to come in here with like roughly full health, but it's not really a big deal. Anything over 200 health is viable for the quick kill. So Uruku has a bunch of lasers and these like little bomb emitters. And you can see we have about 100 health left, so we have plenty hing. But we are now in a position where Uruku can't hit us, no matter what it does. It just has no ability to do any damage to us. We pretty easily make work of it. I did boop a little bit on its arm on the way out, which is a little bit unfortunate, but hey, these things happen. We're gonna hit the switch to activate this pump, which is also going to bring down a laser barrier that lets us back in here, and we can pick up the modified lab coat. The modified lab coat, as I mentioned before, in addition to improving our damage reduction, also lets us walk through walls. And walking through walls is what's going to allow us to get up into Upper Kerr, which is the place where we are going to find our remote drone. Remote drone is sort of this game's equivalent of Morph Ball. Morph Ball in this, it's the thing that lets you get through narrow passageways, basically. It's not exactly like Morph Ball because, right, Samus can unmorph, wherever her destination is, and remote drone, unfortunately, we won't be able to do anything like that just yet. So this is Upper Kerr. This area is full of some pretty gnarly cycles, and we're going to try to do some pretty quick cycle skips. So that's a quick cycle skip on those armadillos. I call that Fast Dillo. And then up here, we're basically going to be racing a boulder up top. It's not that hard of a race, but it does require some correct... Okay, that's actually very good. So we should beat the boulder at this point. So we're gonna jump like this. We're gonna blow this thing up, and there we go. We beat the boulder. And right up here, we are going to come in here, come through this laser barrier, and we'll fall down and get our remote drone. And so now that, again, we are going to save warp. Like I said, we're getting a lot of use out of this anchor save. Is going to enable us to go pick up an upgrade to our glitch gun, Address Disruptor 2. And Address Disruptor 2, in addition to glitching things faster than Address Disruptor 1, can also glitch some things that Address Disruptor 1 simply cannot glitch. So we do actually want that pretty badly. So we're going to go ahead and drop our drone through here. Our drone actually has an attack, which means that it can hit switches for us, which is really handy. The drone also has a neat little quirk, which is if you recall the drone to Trace from a different room, it actually resets both the room that the drone was in and the room that Trace was in. So you can reset a room's state that way. And we actually do use that for a couple of glitches later in the run, which is they're very fun. I'm looking forward to showing them to you. But so here's Address Disruptor 2. And so these blocks, which we could not have glitched before, are now glitchable to us. We do glitch things faster than we did before, which is really nice. And now we are going to return to Upper Kerr. And in Upper Kerr, we are going to fight another boss. We don't actually technically have to fight this one. We could use a skip to get by it, but the skip is actually slower, weirdly, than fighting the boss. We are going to use our drone to go into this little mini dungeon over here. It's convenient. It happens to be on our way. And so there's a fast cycle here that makes this pretty nice. And this lets us pick up a weapon that we won't be using. So this is called Hypoatomizer. Hypoatomizer is actually a weapon that we would have used for fighting the next boss, Gertab, if we were fighting him the casual way. And I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean about that in a little bit. But first we have to kind of take care of this little area. In order to get up here, we actually have to glitch that lava. And then in this room, we have a fun little strat where we're going to glitch these laser warts, which is going to kill that. We're going to take a damage boost off of that. That's going to get us an early cycle on breaking that open. We can't break that open with our drill. We do have to glitch the laser wart in order to do that, and allow our drone to sneak up here. And collecting this health node fragment, even though it doesn't give us another bar of life, actually does refill our health to full, so we are now going to be at full health as we approach Gertab. Now, the krill, the purple krill in this room do a lot of damage, so we really do want to avoid taking any hits from them. But this is Gertab. The reason that we don't do the Gertab skip is because it is slow and finicky, and Gertab is fast and very consistent. So we're basically just going to pop ourselves over here behind Gertab's leg and throw lightning into him until he dies. And we took a little bit more damage. It's possible to kill him before he turns around, but it's not perfect. There's like nothing wrong with the amount of health that we have, so I'm like not concerned about this as we move on into Grapple Room. So the reason that we defeat Gertab and come up here is because we actually want to go through this room and pick up our grappling hook, or our grapple. It's not technically a grappling hook. It is more like a claw. And so this is the zoo. This is the most densely packed room full of enemies in the whole entire game, but there are lots and lots of health drops in here, so if you know kind of what to look out for, you can actually get through here fairly efficiently without much in the way of worry. And I'm gonna basically come up here. We're gonna kill that. And then not really a good cycle on the big hedgehogs, but that's okay. Those things do an awful lot of damage. And so then we have a very interesting drone throw over here. We're gonna jump, throw our drone, and that's gonna catch that power node for us without us having to come all the way back up the room, which we otherwise would have to. We can throw our drone across here to actually pick up the grapple for us and recall it. And the reason that we want to do that, we're almost done with this room, we are going to be done with it very soon, is that there is actually an item over here that the drone can't jump high enough to get. There's another health node fragment. But with this in tow, we can save warp all the way back to our anchor save at the bottom of Kerr. This is going to be the last time that we use this anchor save. Because we have a grapple and can therefore do grapple shenanigans. We do love grapple shenanigans. They're very fun. As I mentioned, the grapple in this game is a little janky, and Tom is a big fan of speedrunning, so he doesn't. He acknowledges that he made this intentionally janky, and so don't mind my calling that. It's no shade. This game is wonderful. So this is Indy, and this giant head platform that I am on is Araka. Araka is very kind to us. She gives us very fast rides places, and so we give her head scritchies by running in place on her moving platform. We're going to take another anchor save here, and this is another one that we're going to use for a little while. So if I attach straight up and then move through a door, straight downward, for some reason it makes me move downward through the door super, super fast. So it's a tiny optimization. You gain a little bit of time on it, assuming that you actually hit the upward grapple and you don't hit down too soon. But it's fun, and it's fun to show off. Okay, so our lab coat lets us move through one-tile walls as long as they're flush to the ground. But for stuff that's in the air, we have to do something a little bit more creative with the grapple. And then we are going to skip a big hallucination sequence and grapple clip through a floor that we can't see. I was just in a room that's not supposed to exist in the hallucination version of this area, and if I had exited out the left door, the game would have crashed, but I was able to clip into the save room below, which I managed to get first try, thankfully. And now we are fighting a boss where I'm actually controlling the boss to optimize how quickly the computer-controlled version of me kills it. And then booping a little bit to the left so that the drone that's going to come out during this cutscene will get to me a little bit faster. So there's supposed to be a whole big hallucination sequence there. It's a very big plot point. And we just skip all of it with grapple tricks. That is 3 separate grapple tricks in the span of 20 seconds, I believe, if you do it all optimally. So we're going to go ahead and grab this health node. We'll be back later for item cleanup in this area. There's a bunch of stuff that we can do in here that we're just not going to do just yet. There's also a couple of setups for a glitch called a void warp that I'm actually not going to use here because there are other better setups later. So don't mind that. But the whole reason that we are actually moving through this area at this point is to get a trench coat. There we go. So I do want to go ahead and pick up this item now. This actually saves a fair bit of time in coming back. And the way that I'm actually going to get Trace out of here is I'm going to hold print screen, and then I'm going to hold the jump button, and then eventually Trace is just going to get corrected. Oops. out of... I was trying to hit the grapple button and not the drone button. Oops. And so that is a little trick. So Axiom Verge does allow print screen buffering like that. A lot of games do not because it is a function of the operating system and not a function of the game. But so we use it in a couple of places for a couple of skips. So now armed with trench coat, I'm going to drop to the bottom of this room and pick up a power node fragment. So we do, in addition to health node fragments, which are like heart pieces, we get power node fragments, which are like heart pieces, but for damage. And we're going to save warp back to this anchor save over here in Indy, and that is going to let us, give us easy access to Eden, which is the next place that we want to go. Now, with our trench coat, we could go through an area that has us fight a boss. Well, not exactly a boss. And get the address bomb and open up a bunch of stuff. But that's actually not the fastest way to go about things. And so we are going to come to the top of Indy up here, and what we are going to do here is just kind of make our way up and go get drone teleport, which is the next item that we want. So really quickly, we're going to do something that's a little silly. We don't technically have to do this in this category. It's a lot faster in 100%, but in 100% items, it's only a little bit faster, is just grapple clip in to get that note. And the reason that it's not that much faster in 100% items is because we don't have to bother fighting the boss over here. We can skip the boss again using print screen buffering to get drone teleport, which we need to get the rest of the items in this whole area. So with that, we can now kind of morph ball it in that we can switch places with our drone, which allows us to go wherever our drone can go for the most part. So like Samus can just unmorph at her destination, we can just swap with the drones. There's no way to get this item unless you have drone teleport. There's another item on our way down that there's no way to get unless you have drone teleport. And that's just, it just kind of is the way that it is. Another little minor optimization that you probably wouldn't notice is if the drone ever, if I launch the drone and it lands on the ground without first hitting against a wall or ceiling, or me cracking the drone egg open in midair by repressing the drone launch button again, then it'll have a kind of long animation sequence. And so I'm trying to avoid that whenever possible. So I'm doing a setup for a void warp now, which is something that we use. We take advantage of the way that the game corrects out of bounds positions, and you can do it blind after you do the grapple clip out of the room. But it is, it's prone to soft locking, and there's a really easy setup if you can actually see what you're doing. So just for safety's sake, I did that. So in order to do a void warp, you first have to get out of bounds. And the way I'm going to get out of bounds is that grapple and dash downward into the door that I did caused something called a back door. So when we transitioned areas, the door ejected me upward instead of downward like it was supposed to, and that put Trace out of bounds, and that allowed him to launch the drone out of bounds, which was, its position was then corrected to the specific place where I left it in Eden, but in Z that happens to correspond to where we have passcode tool, which is actually much more convenient for our routing. It actually lets us set up easily for another void warp. Now, in this area, we're kind of navigating out through these tunnels, which is a little bit slow, not too slow, but we're going to come into the save room up here that we passed through before, and we're going to set our drone up right there, and we are going to head up We're going to head up this way. And right back into Lower Kerr. Now, something that you probably didn't notice about Lower Kerr is that these lava pits here, they don't have a floor. So we have an easy way to out of bounds the drone, which allows us to void warp it all the way over to the upper end of Kerr, into an area that we call Snowy Kerr, at the very end of a drone mini dungeon that is normally a really annoying out and back. But we don't have to do the out portion, we can just do the back portion of it. A grapple clip there saves us a door transition. Door transitions are a couple of seconds, so we like to save all of that stuff. We'll go ahead and grab this little guy over here, so that we don't forget it. We don't want to have to come back here. We're never coming back here, to be absolutely clear about it. This puts us, this routes out a death warp that was previously in every run that used glitches, and it also, that same void warp is actually used in 100% for the same purpose. And the death warp took us farther up in this area, up to here, where we want to get the enhanced drone launcher. So enhanced drone launcher is an item that increases the speed and distance of our drone launch, and the upshot of that is that because we can swap places with our drone and we can fling our drone far and fast, we can move really quickly. So we are going to go ahead, we're going to grab this note, and then we're just gonna use our dash in between drone cooldowns, and then just drone launch ourselves all the way up here. This is an area called Temple, and it's really brutal, and we're gonna skip a lot of it. So I'm using audio cues at this point to do blind navigation through an area called Green Hell. 3, 4, 5. Where's the door? There it is. And this is actually going to take us to where we're going to get our last coat upgrade, which is Red Coat. And Red Coat is so good. So Brown Coat, the Trench Coat lets us dash, and it lets us do that in midair in any direction, through walls up to 2 tiles thick. Red Coat expands that dash radius by 1 tile, so we can go 3 tiles. It's a 50% increase in movement speed. That's really cool. But in addition, Red Coat's after effect does damage to anything that it passes through, including breaking all drill blocks instantly. So those things took a long time for me to drill through, but Red Coat just goes right through them. Additionally, it gives us a lot of iframes. So Red Coat is huge. It is a big upgrade for us, and we are very thankful for it. And so there happens to be a health node tucked away in here. And also, this room is the first room where we are going to input a passcode to open the way to an item. We're going to put in the passcode Iskart Ehanzu. And there is actually a way in this room to find that passcode. If you were so inclined. So there are these little, you see these light green bush enemies that are up there. There are also these little like dark green bush looking things, like those. If you glitch them, they will, 1 letter at a time, very slowly display the passcode for you. And once you have assembled it, you can put it in, and then you can get the item there. That is another weapon that we're not going to use. It is called Quantum Variegator. It is widely regarded as one of the worst weapons in the game because it fires a pretty random spray. It is actually a bit of an homage to the machine gun from Bionic Commando, which also had a bit of a random spray and was also not that useful. Whereas the shotgun equivalent in this game is much less useful than its Bionic Commando counterpart, as opposed to being similar. And that's called the multi-disruptor. So we are now able to just do the entirety of Temple backwards. Basically, with Redcoat in tow, we can kind of bust our way through here without a care in the world. We were supposed to go through a room called Key Room and get a thing called the Sudran Key in order to get into the inner areas of the temple, and we simply do not have to. We just don't. And that saves us a lot of headache. We do actually have to get it because it is an item. It does count for our item completion. But it is full of those drill blocks that take forever to drill through. And as a result, it is extremely painful to get to if you don't already have Redcoat and thus massive invulnerability frames and an easy way to drill through these blocks. But this, with Redcoat, getting everything here is very simple. And I just wanted to double check that I didn't miss an important item. The map will tell me there will be a little yellow dot if I've gotten everything, and I did. So we are free to go ahead and save warp back here. The reason that I took this save is that there's actually a really convenient exit to Temple down here. You don't actually have to go all the way back out the front door. This will take us out back by Grapple Room. And so earlier routes that don't use the early grapple shenanigans will now go ahead and get grapple and fight Gertab and all of that. But we've already done that, so we're just going to come through this way, grab this health node that we didn't get before, and then the room on the other side of this. So this is where we would have ended up if we had done the Gertab skip earlier in the run. This is the rear end of Drone Room. And so we're just going to pop right out here. And so this, we are now kind of in cleanup mode now that we have Redcoat. And so what we're going to do is actually the first thing that we're going to do is come up here into this room. On the left-hand side of this room, as we ascend, there are two items. There's a power node fragment here, and then there's a note on the ledge just below where we are. So we're going to go grab those real quick. If we were doing 100% and we needed the map tiles, we would do a much more convoluted route through this room to go ahead and pick up all of the map tiles as well. But we do not have to in this category, and so we simply do not. There are a bunch of items in this room as well. Well, specifically there are two items in this room. One is that health node fragment, and the other is ion beam, I believe it's called. Okay, well, I'm obviously not getting that grapple clip, but we can grapple clip out of there and go ahead and move back down. And Ion Beam is not the fourth weapon that we care about in this run. It is cool. It is a little laser beam, but it is not what we use. Okay, so here is a place where the routing in this differs a lot from 100%. So in 100% we need map tiles, and we eventually need to clean up the map tiles in Indy, the long corridor that we get where we ride Araka. And because of that, it makes sense to ignore this back area at first. Just do Eden right to left. And then, kind of head back that way. But unfortunately, it doesn't make sense to do that in 100% items because we don't need the map tiles, so we never do Indy cleanup. And because we never do Indy cleanup, there's no good opportunity for us to come back here And so we basically just come back out this way, and this takes us back out into High Jump Room. The reason that we come back out of High Jump Room instead of kind of going back around the other way is because there actually is another weapon over here. And so that takes us back out to Juicy Room, and Juicy Room takes us back out to the main corridor. And then we're going to go ahead and head back up and go into Eden. And we're going to go ahead and do Eden in a particular way, which is set up so that we can do it right to left. So we want to clean up Eden as quickly as possible. And actually, really quickly, I want to make sure, yeah, I got all of the items in here. Okay, we never have to go back to Kerr, which is nice. So Eden, when you come in from the right, has this cavernous area that is here, and it does have in its back room a couple of items. There is a power node and a full health node. Full health node's great. And then, okay, I'm not going to get it before this thing gets on top of me. There is a very precise grapple clip to get into the silo below, because there's a bunch of breach blocks that we can't break, blocking our way because we do not have a dress bomb. But now we can go ahead and grab a dress bomb. And a dress bomb is great. Lets us clear these blocks. And if we were doing 100%, because we would need a bunch of map tiles up above, we would go that way. But we are actually going to ignore the pseudo-boss that's up there and go this way instead. So there's an item hidden in here in this room. If you're doing this room from top to bottom, I have encountered a very large frequency of crashes in this room at the very bottom of this room on the way out. And I'm glad to be doing it the other way. We're going to buffer an address bomb as we come into this room, which is going to glitch these enemies and allow us to get up to the top of this pretty easily. You can actually break those blocks with red coat. You don't, strictly speaking, need the enemies to do it for you. But it's pretty difficult to get all the way through. We're going to grapple clip our way out of that, and we're going to head just right back down. We're going to head right down here and then out back this door. And that is going to take us back to the leftward side of Indy, and that's actually faster than going through the boss room. So we're going to go ahead and come down here. We are now going to make use of that resetting the room property of the drone. So we're going to leave trace there in those drill blocks. And we're going to send the drone over here to get this item in this room. And we're going to recall the drone, and that's going to reset those drill blocks, which is going to force trace upward, because the game wants to put those drill blocks back, but then Trace is stuck in a wall, and it goes, and just moves him up until it finds a valid place for him to stand, or it runs out of up for him to move. Once we've done that, that moves him to the top, and we're, kind of free to move on with our lives. That syringe that I just picked up is, I forget the name of it, but basically whenever Trace is at full health, if he starts to attack, he will sprout some little, claw tentacle things out of his back that will shoot additional bullets. They are not really useful for damage. They can't shoot upward. They can only shoot horizontally, and as a result, we can't use them to shoot at anything above us. We're gonna do a little bit of Ukana cleanup. So this is the area where we had the hallucination sequence earlier, and so we do, or I do, cleanup of this area in a very segmented way. And the reason for that is that it stuff is split between large sections of this area. There was an item that I got from a slug in there. It's the first time that you glitch one of those things, they drop an item, basically. So because I had gotten that power node fragment earlier by using that grapple clip, I didn't have to go all the way up there. That the item in the slug room was the highest up item that I needed to get from the right side of Ukana. But from the left side of Ukana, there's still a couple of other things that we need to get. So we're going to go ahead. There's a health node fragment and a note. There's another note way up. So we're actually, this elevator shaft, it's actually harder to traverse than it looks. And I don't think that it looks that easy, because getting through the ceiling of it is really the hard part. This is where we woke up after the hallucination sequence, after the vision boss, and so we just wanted to get an item from there. And it's really easy to descend this shaft really quickly. That was actually a really good descent. That was like getting the dash through the floor without being able to see it was a big deal. Welcome to Ereboo. Again, this is the first area of the game again. And so we are going to clean this up in a way that is significantly different from the way that we would clean it up in 100%. Normally I would make a U-turn. I would go down at this point, head back into Indy, grab an item that's on the way over there, finish Indy cleanup, and then come back here and do Ereboo cleanup. Instead, what we are going to do is we're going to do Ereboo cleanup. We're going to get that the Indy stuff on the way out. Firing that address bomb was not a time loss in terms of in-game time, which is how we time these runs, but it was a real-time loss, so womp womp. We're going to go get the best weapon in the game now, which is Flamethrower, and that is a real good one. So we do have to kind of come through here. There's a couple things that we need to get in this whole back area. And the reason that I saved back at the first save point of the game was actually because it is faster to recall to that save point after we get Flamethrower than it is to... and actually, there's another item that we are going to be getting in a little bit than it is to walk back. So we're going to input our password here, Dinger Gisbar, which is my favorite password in the whole entire game. Favorite passcode. And we're going to get the best weapon in the game, Flamethrower. I'm going to go into my inventory and set that to my primary fire, and then we're going to go ahead and save quit. It is possible to use a displacement warp from the first save room in the game to avoid going through the rooms that I'm doing. I don't like that one, even though it is much faster than what I'm doing, just because I find the positioning on it really annoying. So I do this instead, where I send the drone over here to get this note, recall, and now I'm in an unloaded room with an item up at the top of Ereboo that you're supposed to need a passcode to get to, but because of this displacement worm, I'm actually able to get here without it. Now the place that I would get where I would enter the passcode, I'm actually not going to bother going there ever. We're just going to skip that whole area because it's up top from here, and you end up basically making a U-turn in order to get there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come through this room, and we are actually going to grapple clip into the room below and do an out and back into this room, because there actually is an item in here, and you cannot get items in unloaded rooms. which is a little unfortunate for some of the speed stuff that we do, but is also understandable that you like wouldn't bother spawning an item where in a place that you did not need to. You know, we have to come up here. So this is back in the Nova Corridor. We're revisiting a lot of places that we were before. We're going to go ahead and use what's called a rocket jump to get through that door on a single jump. We'll collect this health node, and then we're going to save warp back to the bottom of the area, and we're going to be done with Ereboo cleanup. That's fairly solid time. Pay no attention to the fact that the splits indicate that the timer indicates red. That's just the splitter having a split that it thinks is actually somehow relevant to being the game timer for this. This is world record for this is 108 something. So we're not there yet. So this is the area. Normally we would have done this on the first pass through. There actually is an item hidden right here. And there is another item that we need to get. It is actually physically in Indy. It's right here. So we actually do have to pick this one up. I did make a little mistake, didn't I? There is something that I forgot to get that I'm basically going to have to finagle my way to later, which is fine. There's a not too bad way of doing it, but it's certainly going to take longer to recover on that than it otherwise would have. This is another room with a passcode door in it, so we are going to go ahead and insert Dalku Subtum. And that is going to open this door, which is going to let us come up here and, hello? Please? There we go. Grab that item, and then we can go ahead and come back around and leave. And now we're done with Ereboo. We've gotten everything in Ereboo. Yeah, we've gotten everything in Ereboo. So now it is time to do Absu cleanup. So welcome back to Absu. We haven't been here for a while. I would say Absu is the part of the game that I would most like to be able to reroute, and that I have least been able to find any sort of usable reroute on. Absu has a lot of out and backs. I don't like that. It has a lot of places where I just wish that I could do... I wish there was something that I could do that was a little bit more refined. There is also something funny you can do with a backdoor in Absu that lands you basically right on Elsinova's doorstep. But it doesn't work once you have red coat. Those grapple dash backdoors, the one that I did to set up the Void Warp earlier, only works when you have brown coat. And so we are unable to use that at this point in the run. So, womp womp. But we are, we're doing what we do. That is it. So a lot of the items that we are getting in Absu are things that we could have gotten earlier if we had the items, or not if we had the items. They would have been slower to get, but are much faster to get now that we have a lot more in our kit. This is one of the areas that we couldn't have gotten earlier because it requires a dress bomb to get through. This is called the attic. And so there are 4 power node fragments hanging out up here. And we're gonna go ahead and try that. when we fire an address bomb, it slows down the simulation. And this is not a time loss in in-game time, but it is an RTA time loss. And one of the big consequences of that is if you pick up an item while the address bomb thing is going off, then it slows down the item pickup animation, which can be absolutely, like, it can be a mean thing to do to your verifiers if you have that in a run. So do highly advise against that. I definitely have runs where I've kind of been like, because the verifiers are all friends, but it's not a super nice it's not a super nice thing to do, and please don't. I try to avoid doing it these days because nobody needs that. So we are going to do a grapple clip here to get down to an area just over here. Where we can pick this item up. It's sort of break even to come back from below, like I'm doing, versus save warping from to the Elsa Nova save room that's right out there, because this just takes you right back over here to the zombie corridor. So, you know, not too much of a loss to go that way. So one thing about those fast door transitions using the grappling hook is if you do them on a door where the background music would change, the new background music doesn't load. So we're gonna have this thing for at least one room where we don't have any background music at all. So I hope you enjoy that. I think it's a little bit fun. But not everybody loves it. So we're gonna go ahead and collect this. We're gonna save right here because we're gonna use this to come back as soon as we are done with a little bit of out and back here. So this out and back at least you can save warp from, which is nice, though we're going to use that save that I just made as our last anchor save of the run. That is going to be the last place that we go when we're done cleaning up. And you know, you could hear that as I was save warping, the background music came back. So what we're going to do at this point is basically just clean up the rest of Apsu and move on into Z cleanup. There's one exception to the stuff that we're going to clean up in Apsu, and that is an area called Spider Heck. Now, for 100% items, I should have done Spider Heck right after I got... well, no, there was not a good time to do it there. I should have done Spider Heck when I saved, right after I saved in Uken Na, when I was going to do that first set of Uken Na cleanup, is what I should have done. So that would have been faster than just going straight into Arabu cleanup. But because I didn't, I am going to have to kind of go back there and deal with that. So there's lots of like little crevasses in here, crevices that we have to kind of make our way out through. And so that's a lot of what we're doing, is just kind of like digging into all of those. So that should be everything except for the item in Spider Heck, and that means it is time to move on to Z cleanup. Once we're done with Z cleanup, we are going to get Spider Heck out of Abzu, and then we're just going to move on. We're going to do the last little bit of Ukana cleanup, and then it's going to be time to move to Maruru, the last area of the game. So we are really getting close to sort of the end at this point. So there's a nice little grapple clip out here that lets us save a couple door transitions and move here pretty quickly. That's pretty nice. There's a secret little health node fragment up here, which was just like hidden above us the whole time. And we couldn't actually have gotten it the first time that we came through here because we did not have high jump or drone. And I think you need at least one of those to be able to get the item. So here's a room which I believe at one point was called the Menagerie, but I just call it Bush Gardens now because of all the little like Metroid bushes. And this is an out and back. This is one of the things that I wish I could route out of Z cleanup because I really want to save warp. This is several room transitions that I wish that we did not have to do. And I've just never, there's not a good void warp in here. There's not like really not really anything convenient that gets you through that, unfortunately. So, little item hidden in YOLO room. There's a little health node fragment down here. I could have gotten earlier, but when I was doing some of the other void warps, but decided not to. It's really sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other at this point. In this room, there is a neat little. This is two-way if you have red coat and you have grapple. We're only going to go up, but you can go down, which is really useful in randomizer. And there's a nice little displacement warp here that gets us up into the boss room really quickly. We need this health node that we did not get earlier because it would have cost us a lot of time to get that right after we'd gotten lab coat. But also there was this that we couldn't have gotten. And now there's 2 more items in Z that we need to get. And they're both in the maintenance tunnel, probably my least favorite little drone mini dungeon. The maintenance tunnel is long and full of stuff that wants to eat your face. It is very easy to have enemies stun you at times they really shouldn't be stunning you, and get knocked out into bad drone animations. I just like, this area is mean in terms of trying to move quickly, but we can make our way through here fairly efficiently. Chuck our drone over here to pick up an item. And then when we recall it to Trace will be at the bottom of the shaft already, ready to move in and go get the other item. Now there actually is a neat void warp here for this area, but unfortunately if you want to use it, it just, you can't do the grapple clip in Ukana. It just doesn't work. Oh, actually no, never mind. It's fine that I didn't do Spider Heck when I did it because it is on the way out here. Okay, so I kind of have 2 choices of how I proceed out of here. to get up to Ukana, and I'm going to do the one that is easier and more consistent, which is that I'm just going to go kind of the long way around that I can see. It's not that long, and heading up to the boss room to do a displacement warp, while it is impressive, it can take a long time to set up. That can be pretty difficult. So this is Spider Hack. That is the item in Spider Hack. And now we don't have to do Spider Hack anymore. So the reason I want to come out this way is because this puts me in a good position to do the grapple skip to the top of Ukana, which will let me collect the last couple of items in Ukana without much in the way of headache. So I have to basically go out of this room and then come back in. And because there is a weapon in this room, and it's just way up here. So in the version of this room that actually exists, as opposed to the hallucination version of this room that's not supposed to exist, there is a weapon, and there is also not the little door overhang that enabled us to do the grapple clip into the save room in the hallucination version of the area. So, you know, that's very, very nice that overhang exists in the hallucination version. It's also very nice that we can walk out the left door in the non-hallucination version really quickly. Yeah, I have all the items here. Actually, you know what? We're going to take a quick... Okay, I have all of the items everywhere. I didn't miss anything, which is good. I did want to double check. So this is the last area of the game. This is Mar Uru. Mar Uru is full of stuff that hits like a truck. Everything in Mar Uru is mean and angry, and it doesn't like me, and I don't like it, and I don't... Anyway, we're going to be using a lot of fancy movement tech to get through here. This is Sentinel. Oh no. Please stop. There we go. We're going to skip Sentinel. Because you can just grapple coat through that, and it's no problem whatsoever. So these sentries actually have a really interesting property where if you glitch them, they'll follow you into the next room, and that's actually how you're supposed to solve the puzzle in this room, but we just grapple clip real quickly through the floor, which is always a fun time. So there's actually 3 items in this room instead of the one that you can see. There's also no, it doesn't make sense to do that because there's actually an item in that room. Doing a displacement warp there would have sent us into this room, but we need this item. So I came through it the normal way. We're basically just going to head up here. So in the next room is the hardest boss in the game. This is Zetter Hull. But Zetter Hull is extremely weak to leaving the room. So we're going to take advantage of that weakness and say goodbye to Zetter Hull. We are going to go ahead and grab a note here on the way over to this room where we are supposed to do another drone glitch puzzle that we are going to circumvent by grapple clipping and pick up the jokiest weapon in the game, which is Reverse Slicer. Reverse Slicer is not a good weapon. We are not going to use it. It is essentially a boomerang. It was supposed to be a nod to Axiom Verge 2, intending to use more melee combat. So we finally come into the second to last room in the game. This is Disco Heck. A little bit of precise movement is going to get us through here. There is actually an item right in here that we are going to grab, and that is going to be the last item in the game. and then we are going to move on to the final boss. We don't actually have to save before the final boss. We are so powerful that we are not in any danger. And so I need to destroy that gem thing 3 times, and there's going to be this animation that Elsa Nova does. And we'll do this several times. Then Elsa Nova will finally destroy the thing for good, and we'll be all done. And that will be the end of the run. So time is going to be on fade to black after this boss fight. And that is the last. That is the last destructo of the gem. And we are actually just we're gonna yeet ourselves out here and then yeet ourselves off to the side. Elsa Nova's gonna blow up the whole thing. Yeet. And this isn't gonna be a world record, unfortunately, but we're off by less than a minute, and that's time. So that's going to be 1:08:53. So we're off by about 43 seconds there. 100% items in 1:09:31 real time. I hope you enjoyed this run. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, if you think that this looks cool, join the Axiom Verge Discord. We are very friendly. We've got lots of tech. You can learn how all of this works. It's super great. And I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you again so much for watching.